Hi, my name is Carter Whelan. I'm with Outdoorlink, and today we're going to discuss the installation of the SmartLink SL-2-DC controller. The SmartLink SL-2-DC controller is a small format controller, cellular base that enables the remote management and monitoring of various assets. The SmartLink SL-2-DC controller is often used in transit amenities for remotely managing IT networking, solar applications, and more. It's a very versatile controller. Each of the SmartLink SL-2-DCs include an integrated cellular modem to communicate with the Outdoorlink servers so that you can log in and use the remote management portal to monitor your assets. So today we're going to walk through the wiring and the installation of the SmartLink SL-2-DC controller. The SL-2-DC controller is rated from 8 to 36 volts DC, so it's important that your power supply can supply between 8 and 36 volts DC. A lot of applications, the SL-2-DC controller is powered by an AC to DC converter, and in some applications it's powered directly to a battery, or in a solar application, a charge controller. So what we're going to do here is we're going to trace the various lines and to give you a feel for how this controller can be integrated into your location. So here, coming off the main power supply, we've got an AC/DC converter. Again, that could be a battery supply. And a common connection that we often use are the barrel jack connectors. The barrel jack connectors come in a variety of sizes, and we commonly use the ones that have a barrel jack connector on one side and then wire leads on the other. So the incoming power supply will be installed into the N1 ports on the SmartLink controller. There's a terminal block that allows for a split supply. So there's an input 1, output 1, and an input 2 and an output 2, and then a thermistor temperature probe that we'll get to in a second. So the incoming power supply will be connected to the N1, out 1. Polarity matters, so you want to make sure that your positive is on the N1 positive designated cutout, and then the negative wire on the negative connection there. And all of these are easy identifiable on the SmartLink terminal block. So we've got our incoming power connected to the N, positive and negative, and then what we'll do is we'll route power to the device that you want to manage. So in this case, our device number 1 is this small light here, and we've got a second device on our output 2 that we're going to manage as well. It's important to note that the terminal block enables you to manage the devices separately. So if you wanted to remotely reboot a device on outlet 1, that has no impact to outlet number 2. So here we've got the wires on the output. Again, polarity matters. The plus and minus wires go into this connected device here. In this particular case, both of our devices are 12 volts DC, which enable us to do what we call a jumper wire. So in a different setup where you have a device on outlet 1 that is a 12 volt device, and maybe you have a device on outlet 2 which is a 19 volt device, because those are at different voltages, you would need to have 2 different supplies. But in this case, because they're both at 12 volts DC, we're able to connect what we call a jumper wire from the inlet 1, the positive side, to the input 2 positive terminal. And what that's going to do is that's going to energize the second output using the jumper wire. And we go into more detail in our installation manuals and show this illustration. But again, what you're able to do is you're able to take a wire connected to inlet 1, the N positive, and connect that to the N2 positive. And what that's going to do again is going to energize your outlet 2 positive and negative connection. So in this case, we've got this larger light bar here connected to the out positive and the out negative, and the jumper wire configuration. So in this case here, all of the wiring is made up to where we've got our incoming supply. We're jumping power to our inlet 2 by the jumper configuration, and then we've got the 2 separate devices here to be managed. We also include a thermistor with the SL-2-DC controller, and this is very important for battery temperature monitoring or temperature monitoring of any asset that you are going to want to know the temperature of. So we've got a lug that connects to the battery post or terminal, such as we've indicated here, and this connects to the aux port on the SmartLink SL-2-DC controller. This is labeled here. Polarity doesn't matter with our thermistor, and it's important to note that it's a custom thermistor that pairs with the SL-2-DC controller. There's some specific instructions in the circuitry that are configured exactly for this thermistor. So it's important that if you want a thermistor to use with this controller, that you get that from us. If you were to take an off-the-shelf thermistor, it's not going to be compatible with the SmartLink SL-2-DC controller. So that's what we've got going on here on the terminal block. And all of this is managed through our Outdoorlink portal. So you can log in, you can configure these assets remotely, but you've also got the push buttons on the device itself. So as you can see here on the controller, we've got 2 push buttons and 2 LED indicator lights for the various relays. So in this case, I'm simply going to turn each of these lights on using the push button here. So port 1, I open that relay, so we've got the light on here, and then I'm going to do the same thing for port 2. And in this case here, we've got port 2 open, so both of these lights are powered up and energized. So we know that we did all the wiring correctly here, and as you see by the solid LED indicator on port 1 and port 2, that both of these circuits are energized, and there is a load drawing that power on each of those relays there. So that's how we're going to wire the SL2DC controller. Again, it's very versatile. Very key to know that you got your 8 to 36 volt input supply, and to make sure that your wires are correctly connected to the terminal block. But again, all of these are labeled, and the cutouts not only list what input output, 1 or 2, but also the positive and negative polarity of the wire that needs to go in there. So typically we supply 18 to 22 gauge wire is what we recommend to be used with the terminal block. That's the best size there. So what you're going to do in order to make up these connections is use a number 1 flathead screwdriver. The cutouts are a little bit small diameter, so it's important to have a smaller flathead screwdriver in order to drift to get to the terminal block screws. So you'll back those screws out, you'll insert the appropriate wire into the terminal block, and then you'll tighten it down using that number 1 flathead screwdriver. Torque it until it's snug. You don't have to overly torque these terminal blocks. They're a little bit smaller due to the smaller gauge wire, so just make sure those are snug and secure. And that's all you're going to need to do on the making up of the wired connections. So one of the important things, once you've done the SmartLink SL2-DC installation, you've confirmed that your wiring is correct, you have cycled your relays using the manual push buttons to confirm that lights are coming on correctly, that if you want to enable port 1, that the device connected to port 1 is coming on, and the same for port 2. What you want to confirm is that you've got a solid cellular connection at your location. So at the top of the controller, you've got a status light, and what that is a cellular connectivity indicator light. So a rapid blink on the status light, which means multiple blinks per second, means the device is registered on the network and it's connected and everything is passing data as it should. If you see a slow blink on the status light, and by slow blink I mean 1 blink per second, that means the device is searching for its cellular connection. Typically, once you power up a device, it can take a few minutes for that device to find the cellular network. But after 5, 10, 15 minutes, if that device is not connected, you may need to reach out to Outdoorlink for some advanced troubleshooting to help you find better connection. We do have some external antenna options, which we can get to if necessary, but please reach out to Outdoorlink for assistance in confirming the configuration and everything before going that route. But that's what the status light is going to do for you. Rapid blink, happy and connected. Slow blink, 1 blink per second. The device is searching for the network.